Hey there. I first of all want to welcome you back again. Thank you for being here. I know that there are questions that you may have and concerns still. And I do know about the negative thoughts and the fears and all of the worry that you have as a parent of a child with autism. I know I've lived it myself. I understand. Just know that you're not alone and that this is very, very common. It is very normal to have those fears and doubts. But what you want to be careful of is that they don't override your whole life and consume you to the point where you're really not getting the results you look for, because it can stop you and prevent you from moving forward. And I would love for you to be able to take action or continue to take action in more confidence, because it can have a lot of, it can cause our self-doubts to creep in, and our insecurities, because we do a lot for our kids. There's a lot of expense and we're trying really hard. Whether you're brand new to this process and the autism journey, or you've been doing it for years, but you're not really getting the results you've been looking for, that's why I want to help you, because I have created this program, this membership, in the Naturally Recovering Autism membership, to help walk you through those steps from A to Z. It's not just little bits and pieces of a little diet or a little detoxification. It is very thorough, and I've done my very best to also be able to put those into stepping stones so that you know what you're going to do today, and then you wait a couple of days, and what you're going to do in a few days from now. And it is all a process that takes some time, but know that it's done on your timeline. There is no hurry behind it, and that's very purposeful, because if we move forward too quickly with detoxification, even just changing our child's diet can cause a lot of what's called die off. And hopefully you saw my 3-hour masterclass that I taught the other day. The link is still available until midnight Thursday night at the link here right below this video, naturallyrecoveringautism.com/membership, which has all of the details about the membership and what it offers you. But it also has the replay to the masterclass in case you need to revisit any part of that. It's very thorough, and it's as much as I could actually also condense into a 3-hour class, because we're working with human biology. There's a lot to this. But in general, to summarize, we're first needing to stabilize those detoxification pathways. If we don't do that, we can have, again, die off be much more rapid. Now, die off is when the bad bacteria and the toxins and things are releasing from the system to try and move out, but they're moving too rapidly for the body to be able to keep up with. So then that backup of toxins creates worse behavioral problems, and it can be physical issues, rashes, headaches, stomach aches. It can be more of the emotional symptoms that can go along, increased behavior, lack of being able to think clearly. It can even move into aggression and violence. So it's got to be done really slowly. I had a new mom join just yesterday, and she said, Karen, I've been doing this for almost 7 years. And she said, I'm so scared, because I just have tried so many things and I'm afraid, will this work? And I've seen the behaviors get so bad before when I tried. And I answer that clearly. That was probably because whatever practitioners and other people that she had went to, and this is my story and likely yours, so I hope you can relate, that she's given too many supplements and too many things to do too close together and too quickly. Then there's not enough support for those detox pathways, which there has to be first. Then it causes those behavioral issues, and you don't know what to do, because now you're at a loss and you're doing what they told you to do, but you don't have any support. You don't have any guidance on what to do when that happens and how to reduce that probability. It's likely going to happen, but we want to have it be as little as possible, as low as possible. And I know that your time is limited, so it actually helps in a sense, in a big sense, actually, because you're going to be doing it on your timeline and on your child's timeline. There is no keeping up. This is not about, we're not building a website or something here. We are talking about human beings and human biology, and we have to work at each child's individual pace. And that means if they need to start the binders and some of the initial supplements more slowly because you need to spread them out further because you're noticing a little bit of those die-off reactions and increased behaviors, then you just go slower. You spread out the time in between each new supplement that you add in and what you're doing and help support those detox pathways. And I give a lot of guidance in the program about that. And then, of course, the forum is there to help to guide you even further, to help answer questions as they might come up along the way. And with PDFs and video and text, I've given you a lot of those answers already. But if something comes up and you don't know the answer, then you ask me in the forum and I get back to you within 24 hours. So you're never left hanging or uncertain or with that lack of what should I do next again, because I know, again, that story myself. My son was diagnosed with autism 16 years ago now. I was told to drug him, try behavioral therapy, and maybe, there was really nothing else we could do. And they wanted me to just drug him. And I thought, I want to find the causes, not just, mask symptoms. And that's what this is really about, working with those underlying pathogens and detoxification. Stage 2, we're moving in a safe and healthy, natural heavy metal detoxification and clearing the co-infections, which are so commonly missed. Parasites, Lyme, mold biotoxins, PANS or pandas, and streptococcal infections. There's so much more to this that gets missed and why you may have fallen short of results in the past. Well, it took me over a decade, but my son actually is now fully recovered. College graduate, lived 1,000 miles away from me independently on his own when he was away from college. There was a day when I was concerned if he would ever be able to do that. And I know that that's a big concern for you. Will they be able to live completely independently of me in the future? Will they be healthy? Will they be happy? All of these issues, these underlying fears and concerns and the things that keep you up at night sometimes. I understand it. I have lived it. Now, every child's level of recovery is different. Absolutely. So your child may keep their diagnosis, and that's absolutely fine. That's not the whole picture. The whole picture really is getting them to their best full potential, to living life so that they can be independent and be who they truly are. Kids who were getting D's and F's that I've helped their parents are now getting A's and B's. Kids who were completely nonverbal. One who was 27 years old, his mom said she had tried so many things for almost 27 years and nothing had worked. And she came into the program, and you can even listen to her on the membership, this link here that takes you to the membership page. Her name's also Karen, and she talks about how much she had tried before and nothing else had worked. And within, I think, 5 months, her son was reading books with her and talking for the first time, 27 years. Now, I think of, wow, if she had found my program 20 years ago, how much it could have saved her in time, expense, and just the stress and worry. So that's what I want, is for you to really be able to know that to take action now. And I understand those concerns. Again, I've lived it, but you can't let them control you where you don't take that next step and try this program, because it has gotten results. And again, every child's level of recovery is different, and we all know that. But I've had members have very kindly shared even some video testimonials of things that the program has done for them and their children. Even when they may have tried many other things before, they've gotten results here. And that's what I just want to be able to happen for you, to get the results you're looking for, and really also to be able to get that support. I know those fears and not getting, and the confusion of trying to hunt and peck through the internet and trying the next supplement or trying the next practitioner and not knowing what you're doing. So this is a step-by-step A to Z plan that's very thorough for you. And it has support, which I know is really hard to get as well. It's why I created this after I had the success with my son. I wanted to help parents other parents like you to be able to have a plan and more confidence and to really save you the time and the expense that you can spend when you're really just not knowing what you're doing. You don't have a plan to follow. So I'm going to jump into the chat. I see a few questions coming in. Also, remember the link is here to the membership page, naturallyrecoveringautism.com/membership. And that will give you a lot of all the details about what the membership program offers you. And it has the link to the replay of the masterclass. And it also has a lot of those shared experiences that others have had from being in the program, which hopefully can help you to feel a bit more confident about taking this next step forward and actually joining the program. I'm asking you to please join because I want to help you get the results you're looking for and the results that your child deserves. And also know that the enrollment to the program and the masterclass replay are only open or available on this link until midnight Thursday night, April 7th. So right now, as we're doing this live, that's tomorrow night at midnight. So make sure that you join before the doors close because I want to help you. I'm looking for committed parents, positive minded. You might be scared, but that's okay. But you're willing to take the next step and you're willing to do the work because I guide you and I give you the stepping stones, but you definitely need to be the one doing those steps for your child. But it is all worth it. And I've tried to, again, simplify it as best as I can to guide you. And I, again, won't leave you hanging. I give you support along the way. So I do want you to know that because I remember how lonely and isolating it can be and how I felt that way all the time and trying to get answers, or maybe I was given some supplements from a practitioner and then I had questions about them and hard to even get them on the phone or get a reply, or what do I do with it? Or, you don't know something and there's just nobody to ask. And it's also very important to know to have a plan. You've got to have a plan and you've got to know how to work that plan. And that's what I give you too. So it gives you more confidence in knowing that as well. You're following something that has given a lot of great results to a lot of people worldwide in over 40 countries now. So it's pretty exciting. Faith, hi there. Georgia. All right. As I listen to the replay, these are the questions I came up with. If you're only spending time on membership related questions, disregard the ones that are irrelevant to that. How effective can binders be during diet transition when a child is still taking in a lot of the best foods? So I'll answer that first. So binders are absolutely helpful because what happens, and again, everything we use in the program is either in liquid or powder form, or liquid or powder, or because I've weeded out 95% of the junk supplements out there that aren't bioavailable, aren't the best help for children with autism. And so you're going to get the best 5% that exist for what our specific needs are for our kids, for your child. And so by now I go off on a little tangent. So the binders are, again, they're liquid form. So they are really helpful because they're going to help. So what happens is your child's liver is really congested. The liver is the organ of detoxification. It is trying to flush out those toxins, but it can't do it all by itself because it's so backed up. And their detoxification pathways. So the binders and the minerals that you'll see right there initially on the quick guide as you come in, the first few things to do, you're going to start to stabilize those detoxification pathways, which are going to help the body so the liver doesn't have to do all the work. What that means is that you're hopefully going to have less of the die-off reactions. So as you even start making those diet changes, yes, you can definitely keep moving forward. This is a very common question. Definitely keep moving forward with the supplements in the program as you're transitioning out of those bad foods and giving more of the good ones. Now, this is a process for many people. And again, as I mentioned in the masterclass, one of the big reasons is that your child is literally addicted to many of the foods that they're allergic to. That is a natural thing, a very odd phenomenon, but that is the case. We get addicted to the foods that we're allergic to, but also gluten and casein, the protein in dairy and wheat, they create opiates in the body, just like an opiate drug. So again, there's that addiction. They are craving that. Processed carbohydrates, they also feed the bad bacteria like Candida. So those bacteria are living organisms and they're craving that sugar. So they want all those bad foods. It's going to take a little time to transition out because if you did it really fast, sometimes I say don't rip off the Band-Aid. If you do it too fast, then you'll see maybe more of those behavioral issues coming up. So the binders are going to help to sop up some of those extra toxins because as the gut starts to heal and we're not feeding the bacteria, the bad stuff, what it needs, then they start to die. And then when they die, they release toxins. So then there's more toxic load. So that's why those binders and the minerals in the first part in that quick guide are so, so important. So they really help with the diet transition as well. And be sure to see the PDF that I created called Help for Transitioning Picky Eaters. It's on the bottom of the Gut Healing Diet page. Has a lot of really great tips to help you get some good nutrition into your child now, and some things that some foods, powder forms, different things that can be added into other foods that they will eat now to again help to start that transition and get some of that nutrition in because they're likely not absorbing a lot of the nutrition from the food that they're eating right now. And that alone can cause some behavioral issues as well. So we're going to start to heal up the gut before we really move forward. So that, it's one thing at a time. And it's very important. Can you muscle test for food to determine allergies and sensitivities, or can you only look for physical and behavioral problems? You can do both. Do you think every spectrum child deals with ADHD? Yeah, I basically do. I mean, I see autism in a sense of an extreme form of ADHD or ADD. There's so much anxiety, the anxiousness, the sensory overload. They really have a hard time filtering out excess. And the ADHD, ADD, a lot of those times, those behavioral symptoms of that diagnosis can be caused by the allergies. You'll see the allergy kit right there on the supplement page too from Inga. So really take a look at that video that I did because it can be really, really helpful along the way to desensitize. You're able to do it from home, which is really nice. Desensitize a lot of those foods or supplements or environmental toxins that your child is being triggered by daily that you might not even be aware of. So it really, really helps to calm those symptoms as we're working with the core causes in the program. And can you look at physical and behavioral symptoms while you're learning a muscle test? Yes, absolutely. That is what you want to do because it takes a little time to learn to muscle test and feel comfortable with it. And just keep practicing. Again, I've given several methods, styles of testing, muscle testing on that muscle testing page in Module 1 because I want you to just go through them and maybe try each one once and think, okay, I like this one the best. This feels most comfortable for me. You only need one. Just pick the one that you like the best and just start practicing with it and even have fun doing it at first using like the name game that I mentioned. If you were on the live call yesterday too, it was the first week of the month, so we have our members live call, and so practicing some of that muscle testing, and saying my name is Faith, and then test, and it should be strong, and then say my name is something else, Sandy, and then you test again, and it should be weak. So using something fun to help guide you in the testing is a lot easier than testing a supplement or a food, because both, of course, can be tested, and dosages and quantities of each as well, which is very important. So yes, those can be that can be used. Symptoms are your guide as you're learning to muscle test. Just keep practicing muscle testing so you start to feel a little more comfortable with it over time, just because it is so helpful to know. It's really a nice benefit to be able. Catherine, hi from England. Hi, Catherine. Nice to see you. Your son seems to be making progress with his speech. Good. I'm glad to hear that. But his stimming seems to have gotten worse. Okay, so it sounds like there's been a new trigger. He's always been up and down with symptoms, but the stimming recently has been very often, running up and down or in circles and humming. What could be causing this? So, of course, Catherine, there could be many causes. What is really common, and you're in England, and I see this a lot with people in England because it is a country that has more dampness because of the weather and really old buildings and things like that is mold. So see if you have been to any new places that your son has been to recently that he may have had some mold exposure. If you're make sure, of course, that your home is mold free and you've got the herbal supplements. I know that you're in the program, definitely the begin the nasal spray and the BTXD herbals right away too. But if it seems like it's really gotten into like his stimming has increased where he's getting those OCD, the obsessive compulsive, because it sounds like he's running in circles, the anxiety, then you want to decipher, does it look like he might have a PANS flare-up going on? Module 7, you can look at the PANS symptom guide and go through that and think, does he have those? And if so, which is likely, then start, of course, I'm getting off on a tangent for people who are not in the program, so you forgive me for one moment. So, Catherine, you want to have him on the parasite formula first, the single one, and then start the PANS. Also take a look at mast cell activation, which is at the bottom of the detoxification page. There are commonly, I'll come back to everybody, you'll find all of that, on the herbal ordering and usage guide, all the guidelines for the herbals there for the co-infections like that. But you'll find histamines are a big trigger too. They're very often in food, but they're also created by a lot of things in our environment. Swimming pool, chlorine can be a big trigger. We can even have sensitivities to healthy foods like spinach has oxalates, which is something that the oxalic acid can create more symptoms in us. Our body can't dispel it easily or process it. Histamine triggers are a big issue. There are certain things that a supplement called quercetin that is pretty simple to take that you can utilize to help calm those down, the triggers. But that the anxiety and the hyperactivity, there are a couple of things, as I'm mentioning here for Karen or Catherine, for everyone to know that, if you see, again, like improved speech and, things are getting better, and then suddenly you're starting to see some symptom changes again. They're having some type of a trigger, excuse me, to either they're having some die-off reaction, which can be the case too, which in that case, you want to slow down a little bit on any new supplements you might be adding or increasing any dosages. But if you haven't done that recently and they're still having increased behaviors, if you don't think they're in a die-off reaction, then a couple of these other things are there to look into, because PANS, which is an acronym for Pediatric Autoimmune Neuropsychiatric Syndrome. I know it's lengthy, but it basically means that the immune system is overreacting. It's been triggered by something, and whether it's an environmental trigger that your child was exposed to, or the increased die-off from detoxification has been too much for the system, and it pushes the immune system over, I'll call it, over the edge. When that happens, then what happens is the immune system starts attacking itself, and like an autoimmune issue, but it starts attacking the brain in PANS. It's very commonly triggered, can be triggered too from strep. If you hear the term pandas, that is from streptococcal infections. And strep isn't always in the throat like we hear from strep throat. Sometimes it's carried in the gut. But either way, we're looking at a couple of these things that we want to troubleshoot. But bottom line is you slow down on any on don't add in any new supplement when you start having a die-off reaction. And if you need to, even reduce dosages just a little bit before resuming, but look at all of the possible triggers in the environment as well as anything new that they have eaten, even foods, or been exposed to, new buildings, anything like that. I had another mom actually in England, Catherine, just another mom, and her son had been doing much better too. And suddenly he was just getting really behavioral and she hadn't increased anything new, and we were going back and forth in the forum troubleshooting, and finally it came up he had been to the barber shop recently, a building that he hadn't been into recently, and she said the barber shop was a really old building and there was mold, and so her son's new behavioral issues had been triggered by mold biotoxins. Now, if you haven't seen the masterclass, if you're watching this, I go over this in much more detail. Again, it's up until midnight tomorrow night, Thursday night. So be sure to revisit it if you need to help understand this more. I explain it more in there. The co-infections are really big with autism, and they are so commonly missed in most other treatments or protocols or anything that I see people doing. If they're tested for at all, they're very commonly, the tests come up negative or they're treated improperly. Most people just most doctors just give you antibiotics. Well, a lot of those co-infections are antibiotic resistant, which means the antibiotics are not going to help your child, but they're also going to make your child worse in the long run because antibiotics are not discriminatory. They will kill off the good bacteria along with the bad. So for a short time, you might see, oh, they're seeming like they're a little better. But a few weeks after you stop treatment, those bad bacteria now can come in even worse and take over because there's even less of the good bacteria than there was before to help protect us. So the antibiotics are really hard. Of course, they really harm the gut lining as well, but they can really weaken the immune system, all of these things. So you don't want to just throw your child on a bunch of antibiotics, especially when things are antibiotic resistant. It's not going to help. It's just where we use all natural supplements. And for the co-infections, there are elixirs and organic proprietary herbal formulas that were developed just for these specific co-infections of children, especially with autism. We don't want to boost the immune system in autism. That's really important too, because it can become overactive very easily. Now, autism does run along the lines of being an autoimmune issue. So what we want to do is to regulate and modulate the immune system. So everything we do helps to do that. It doesn't just boost it up. It's calming it down if it's too hot, too overactive, and it's bringing it up and strengthening it if it is underactive. So it's really a nice benefit of those as well. Okay. Zanelli. I have a 9-year-old autistic boy in the program you're offering. Is it open to people? Is the program open to people in South Africa? Yes, absolutely. I have many people actually in Africa. If you saw the little boy, his name was Pierce. There's a picture of him in school, in a school setting, in the master class. His dad was was 6.5 years ago, my very first member. And it was a time when I knew this worked for my son, and people all over. I'd go to school, and in the schoolyard, people would be like, Karen, this is going on with my son, or my daughter. What can I do? And so I would stand there and I would just start blurting stuff out, this and this. And I thought, I've got to create, something. So his dad had contacted me and said, please, can you just create a step-by-step guide? And voila, right? It took me over a year to create the program. It wasn't an overnight thing, but I thought, yeah, this would be perfect. And online is so nice because it's available to you 24/7. You log in with your private password to the private protected membership site that then gives you all of the, everything you need in the steps, and it can be done from anywhere in the world. And Pierce, his dad, had fantastic results. His son, Pierce, had been in the hospital twice that year, when his dad had first contacted me, and um, his dad was just said, "I'm overwhelmed. I don't know what to do." Pierce has been in and out of the hospital a couple times this year. They gave him high doses of antibiotics because they didn't know what else to do for him. They didn't know what was wrong with him, what was causing all of his health issues. He was sick all the time, and the antibiotics were things that Pierce had bad reactions to, so they made him worse. And his dad got him out of the hospital, and he said, "I swore that was the last time. I would never do it again." It's kind of like that fuel on the fire. I had one of those trips to the emergency room with my son. That was my last, like that straw that broke that camel's back. I said, that my son's screaming in stomach pain in the hospital, and the doctor's talking at me like I'm some stupid parent and saying, "No, I'm not going to do any tests. No, I just don't think that that's necessary." I'm like, "He could be having an appendicitis attack. Don't you, no." And this, that's it. I've had it. I'm going to figure this out for myself. So that's where, Pierce's dad was. He was like, I'm not going to let my son have to go through this forever. I'm going to figure, I need, he said, "I need your help, Karen." And I said, "Okay, let me put this together." And, I took me time and time every week. "Is it done yet? Is it done?" I'm like, I'm trying. And I wanted to be correct and thorough and responsible and have him be able to follow it. And so I thought, even back then, this will work for other people, right? And I had, some people I'd share it with have success, but, creating a program like this that you do online from wherever you are, um, and he just took off with it, did the steps one at a time, and within, a year or two, Pierce is back in school. He's verbal, he's got friends, he's writing. He says his dad says he hasn't had anything but maybe a little cold in over a year. He never gets sick anymore. He's now a happy, healthy child. His speech is there now where it wasn't before. And he's just it's been a whole life transformation for them. And so again, as time went on, more and more of these types of stories were happening. And now again, on the membership page here, naturalrecoveringautism.com/membership, where you get all the details for the program and what it offers you, everything about it. And the link to join now is there as well. And on that page are some video and text, testimonial stories that other parents in the program have shared of their successes and their results from implementing the steps. And so you can read those and see. And I have parents in over 40 countries now in the program, which is so exciting because autism is an epidemic. I mean, 1 in 39 kids now is diagnosed with autism. And that is, for me, that's unacceptable. I have answers, and I want to help you to understand there is an answer. There are solutions, and you don't have to hunt and peck through the internet anymore. Go to practitioners that don't know what they're doing, but charging you excessive amounts of money, and you're not getting results. Basically, and if you listen to Nancy, she just did a 45-minute podcast interview with me. So if you go to naturalrecoveringautism.com and click on blog, right there is her interview, and you can listen to the whole thing. It's also on iTunes and everywhere else. But she talks about how she had tried so many things and she just wasn't getting any results. And she has gotten results here. And that's what she said. If I'm trying something for a good month or more and it's really not making any differences, she's like, "Oh, why would I want to keep doing it? I can't, keep spending the money on something that isn't working." I had to pull my son out of therapies after months of therapies that weren't working for him, making any difference, frustrating him. He would even say, "Mom, I want to, but I can't." And, that's heartbreaking for me to watch his self-esteem being affected when I knew he was brilliant. But his brain back then, now I know his brain was so toxic and inflamed, he couldn't actually carry out the task that was being asked of him, even if he wanted to. I mean, think of how insanely frustrating that is for a child I had somebody write me this morning in Facebook, and her child, she said, he's like, it's like he's trapped in his own prison. And that, for some kids, that is really a good description. They want out, they want to be themselves, and they're stuck. They're like, it's like they're trapped. So these give you this program can give you the help to get your child to their full potential, and hopefully independence. And that's what happened. Nancy shares that as well. Her son, she's been on the journey for almost a decade before she started exactly 1 year ago today, or this month, last April. And she said she would never have thought she could leave him alone, and worried about his future. Would he ever be able to be independent? Would she be able to be able to go on with her life without having to always be, taking care of him? She wanted him to get to where he could take care of himself, and was really worried about it, and had tried a lot of things and nothing was helping. And after a year in the program, and you can go listen to her yourself, we have a brief piece on her sharing on the membership page, but the full interview is at naturallyrecoveringautism.com. Again, just go there and click on blog. It's the first one you'll see at the top that comes up, because it's the most recent podcast interview and blog post I've done. But it's wonderful to hear her share how she says, yeah, I can go pick my daughter up now from school. And she says, her son will come home from school. He's 11. He's able to be there for a little bit by himself while she's getting her daughter from school and come home. He used to have complete anxiety, couldn't stay by himself at all for even 5 minutes. And now she said he's able to take care of himself. So she's really seeing that independence happen, and knows that his future, he's 11 years old now, his future is going to be much, much brighter and help. And, she knows too, there's still some things to do. So as she continues to do them, she'll find out even more of what more results are there to be for him as well. So that is so rewarding to watch. And you are the one who does it for your child. I'm a guide. I'm a mentor. I help give you the plan and the roadmap to follow, so the steps in the stepping stone order, one thing at a time at your child's pace. And then I give you support along the way. If there are questions that come up, you just ask me in the forum. But the value for this program is immense. And I've put it in video, audio, and text form for each page, for each piece, to just, everybody learns from things a little differently. So I just tried to make it as simple and easy to follow as possible, as we can with human biology, right? But I think I've achieved that pretty well. As the years go on, I've been able to refine it better and better, because I've noticed certain questions would come in about a certain topic or something. Constipation is huge. Well, okay, that's common enough. I need to make a PDF on and put it on the diet page where people can understand, get like what things to do. Things that are really helpful, how to transition the picky eaters, various things like that can be really helpful. Um, Keisha, your 3-year-old son has yeast and Clostridia. Does this program address Clostridia because it causes dopamine issues? Yeah, dopamine issues are largely caused too by gut issues, which again in the masterclass I talked about this. It's stage 4 for brain support and repair. Dopamine and serotonin are two neurotransmitters. They help things like mood, sleep, appetite, ability to focus, our reward center, staying calm, things like that. So they're built in the gut. So when the gut's not working properly, then the brain can't get those messages and actually be able to do those tasks, those things that I just mentioned, right? It can't stay calm and control itself, or calm what can turn into violent behavior. It can't focus. We can't focus properly. So there are some natural ways to build dopamine, but one of the things, and serotonin, one of the things to do, though, we do start healing the gut. Now, Clostridia is not that uncommon, and Candida is very common. I mean, pretty much I could say a 100% of children with autism and very likely mom has a candida overgrowth issue. Now, there are a lot of physical and behavioral issues that can come from candida, brain fog, irritability, inability to absorb the nutrition from the gut, sleep problems, hypoglycemia, blood sugar issues. It just really goes on and on. But a lot of irritability, um, and brain fog again, inability to think clearly. Now, we pass a lot of things in utero to our kids, so they can be born with a little bit of, some of these pathogens and infections already. And then they're just more sensitive, even more so to environmental toxins that we are all exposed to daily. They just can't take anymore. It's like their system is maxed out, and that's why we end up with, especially the things like symptoms of autism. It's just too much of everything and the system is just too weak. So, yes, candida, in fact, in my decade working with trying to figure out the things to help my son, I would say candida was one of the hardest to really figure out, to really get a good grasp on, because it is really challenging. Uh, a lot of people say, well, probiotics will help balance it. Well, to some degree, yes, but that's not the give all. That's not everything, because candida is like, it's actually got an intelligence like parasites do. And they can hide in the tissues when we're doing some type of a protocol. If and then when and they lay their little babies are called spores, and those spores have little legs on them that are like screwdrivers, and they literally bore holes in the lining of the gut, causing leaky gut, allowing undigested food into the bloodstream, triggering the immune system to cause reactions, hyperactivity, more food allergies, more weakened gut. So that means less dopamine and serotonin bill. I mean, it's just one thing is another, to do A to Z and not just, okay, we'll work with candida and a little diet and that'll be it. No, because there's a lot more to do. And you've got to heal up those holes in the gut. It's referred to as leaky gut. You'll hear that term. So it took me a decade, and I definitely have figured it out with the best thing possible that we use for that. It is one of the elixirs, but it's some because it will also get into the tissues. So it's not like they're hiding when you do a protocol of like they are with something else. Then you stop doing that and think, oh, they're good now. Well, no, eventually those little things will come out of the tissues and back into the system. And it's an ongoing thing. I mean, not just diet, of course, sugars, which is, dairy is loaded with sugar. Wheat and dairy also have a lot of inflammatory properties, which weaken the gut lining. There are processed carbohydrates, which create more sugars in the body, and all of these things that I mentioned a little earlier today here on this on this discussion, and also in the masterclass. That again, the replay is available until tomorrow night if you want to revisit that. Um, but I have figured it out. So we definitely work with candida, and very thoroughly, because I'll give couple little caveat, or one little caveat piece here too is very important to know that there are other things like heavy metal toxins, especially mercury, which will inhibit the body's natural ability to dispel excess candida and keep it in balance. So again, if there now are the heavy metal toxins, which we work with naturally and safely, we don't go in there and put more prescription drugs like DMSA in, and I covered all of this in the masterclass, because that they're not DMSA, and the chelation, the pharmaceutical chelation that you get at a doctor's office is not discriminatory. It will pull out the bad stuff along with good things like calcium and magnesium, good minerals that our bodies need and that our kids are already deficient in. So it's really important to know that. And maybe worse, is that it will also allow, DMSA will also allow for reabsorption of those toxins back into the system as it's trying to be excreted. So you can end up with it being redistributed back into the bloodstream, the body, brain. So we use a very natural, safe zeolite for that, which is a spray that tastes like water. So it's like spraying water into your child's mouth. It's super easy to use and very, very effective. So that will help with the heavy metal toxicity. Again, mercury, lead, cadmium, aluminum, things like that. The mercury, again, by working with that, you're helping the body be stronger to fight candida. So you can, again, see how there's one thing will lead to another. So you have to be very thorough, which my program is. In fact, I think it's one of the most thorough programs I've ever seen from anyone. I gotta be honest with you, especially online that you can do from your own home. But you've got to be thorough or you're not going to get the optimum results for your child. And that will make a difference in the long run for their life and yours. So that's why it is important to make sure that you cover all those bases. Zanella, thank you. You're very welcome. Faith, if time runs out, would you be willing to do a quick phone consult if I have a few more questions? Oh, before enrolling. Oh, you haven't enrolled yet, Faith. You know what? I can have you. I can't do phone consults for every single person because there are so many. That's why I'm doing this. So if you could ask your question here, if you have something else, you can reach out to support@naturallyrecoveringautism.com because we do want to answer your questions and make sure you feel comfortable joining if there is something else remaining. So you can definitely do that. We're into almost an hour here, but we only have, actually, I even Keisha's saying thank you. And below that, I don't see any more questions. So right now, Faith, if you have a question you want to ask, please do so. Still had some in your original comment. Did I miss something? Let me go back. Can a muscle test? I answered that one, yes. Or watch for symptoms. ADHD. What do you give to treat? Well, again, that's an open-ended question because as I just talked about, there are so many things. That's why we could be here for days. That's why joining the program gives you the answers. It's what do you do to treat? So treat what? I mean, if we're working to again, we're supporting the detoxification pathways, working to start healing up the gut so that your child's going to be able to absorb the nutrition from the food they eat. We're balancing out the bad bacteria that's causing their gut to not work properly, which weakens their immune system, which doesn't allow the neurotransmitters to build properly, which then affects their behaviors, their ability to focus and function, mood stability, sleep, all of these things. So then healing the gut, we start that foundational thing through diet and through some original supplementing with, again, the binders and detox pathway support, moving on to, again, natural and safe heavy metal detoxification, which again is pretty simple, as I mentioned. And we're moving into the co-infections. And of course, we work with the candida, as I just mentioned also. But the co-infections, mold, Lyme, pandas or strep, parasites are huge. In fact, they're the number one reason for constipation. If you see nail biting or drooling or they're mouthing a lot, of course, maybe they're having failure to thrive. They are eating a lot, but seem like they're hungry a lot, aren't really getting the nutrition from the food. It's because those pathogens are eating the nutrition from the food, and we get leftover with the leftover like carbs and junk. So we're not getting the nutrition when they're there. So we have to go through all of the co-infections, which we use the proprietary organic herbal formulas for. Then we have the elixirs. You get a personalized, one of the bonuses in the program is a personalized private elixir reading from the owner of the company. You basically write him, and this is after you've done a little bit of work. You get to that stage where your child's at now, at that point, and it's in the stepping stones of the program. You'll see where, because first we want to really stabilize those detoxification pathways. Then Robert will give you, you give him in an email your child's age and their symptoms. and then he can help. At that point, you might be ready for the Candida Elixir. We don't do it early right away in the program because if you can end up with some big die-off reactions. They can be pretty intense if those detox pathways haven't been supported first. So that's again why we walk through the steps. First, we're really making sure the body's able to start working properly and better to flush out those toxins. And then looking at co-infections and other triggers, like I was talking to Catherine about, there are other triggers in our child's environment that we have to be aware of. And so once we move through, those three stages, again, we're using natural supplements that will help detox pathways, help heal the gut, help heavy metal detoxification safely. All of this is natural stuff. And the proprietary organic herbal formulas for the co-infections, a huge bonus. The elixirs, which help with a lot of some of these, the detox pathways and the candida and some other things. And basically a couple other, basically we're working through all of these pieces. So it's, that's why I start with the quick guide. When you join, within 5 minutes, you'll have an email in your inbox that will give you your first steps kind of guide to how to get started. It'll give you login information to the private member site. You go in, and right there's a start here page that gives you two short videos. They're like less than 5 minutes. The videos are all less than about 5 minutes, anywhere from 2 to 5 minutes long. I want them to be short and just give you what you need and not take up a bunch of your time. So the information there will help to get you started, which includes the introduction page, gives you the quick guide to getting started, which are the first few supplements, the links where to purchase them, the discount codes that I have from the companies that I've gotten from them if they offered one, because I always ask if they'll offer one that I can share. So many of the supplements will have some type of a discount or coupon code next to it. So those links, those direct links to what you need when you need them, you just only purchase what you need as you need them along the way, because this is, spread out over time, one thing at a time. So it's not like you have to come in day one and buy 13 supplements. There are the first few things that you'll need to get started, but then everything else it's really just, spread out over time, again, on your child's timeline. So I hope that answers your questions, Faith. It's really, again, an A to Z and very thorough program, but I have, again, put it into simplified steps for you to follow in a roadmap so that you don't get all confused and everything, and to help keep it as simple as possible with autism recovery and biology. So hopefully that answers your questions, how we treat, because we treat with all of those things in a process over time. And everything has been well researched. I have now over 16 years of autism research, very specifically in autism. My own journey with my son, so personal experience using everything in the program. There are, for that, also I have my background as a craniosacral therapist of over 30 years now, and I taught it for almost 10 years. I'm nationally board certified as an instructor of it. But what that means is that I have in-depth knowledge of the brain. What a craniosacral therapist does is works with the bones of the head to help bring them in naturally, very safely and gently. We use about the weight of a nickel into balance, the bones into balance. And so we just assist. We never adjust. We just assist gently for that process. So I've studied the brain, and before that, even, I had years working as a back office assistant with an applied kinesiology chiropractor, hence the muscle testing. Applied kinesiology, doctors use muscle testing, which can be very, very helpful in learning what food or supplement your child is tolerating or not tolerating, and the dosage amounts. But she also taught me a ton about holistic health, diet, nutrition, supplements, all of these other things, because it was very holistically oriented. It wasn't just, again, one thing. So I bring all of this knowledge and experience, um, and all of the courses I've taken over the 35 years or so now of working in this, that I bring to you in this program. Like the detoxification page has some things on liver massage and lymphatic massage, some simple things you can do at home on your child that can be really helpful. Um, and just other things that I know from my years of experience, again, not just all of the research, which is, I think, very important. And I've interviewed, if you've listened to my podcast, I've interviewed experts from all over the world in so many different fields that have to pertain to the health of an autistic child. That knowledge, and then again, my personal experience with my son, which I think is really everything. Not everybody has lived it and understands the challenges of going through this process and how slowly it needs to be done. And I do. I completely get it, and I know the fears and the worry and the concern, everything. And so my goal is to save you the time and the financial expense of weeding out what doesn't work to find what does, because I've already done the work for you. So that's what's laid out here for you. So hopefully that has answered any final questions you might have there, Faith. But again, support at naturallyrecoveringautism.com is there available also. Um, it's funny, Anita, I get this question all the time. Does my son take a lot of supplements and elixirs even to this day? I usually get, can he eat gluten now? Because everybody wants to feed their child gluten. And occasionally he does eat, excuse me. He does eat it, and I'm like, so how you feeling? And I'm like, yeah, I got a headache. And I'm like, okay, so he's 26 years old. He turned 26 last week. I'm like, he taking care of himself, right? But they learn. Your child will be very educated on health and nutrition, trust me, after going through this process. So they shouldn't eat dairy and gluten. Nobody really should, cow's milk or gluten, but they're going to get a hold of it sometimes, and they learn how it makes them feel, really, so that hopefully it's enough incentive to not do it, or not do it very often. He does, yes, take certain supplements every day. Not as many as he used to, but he definitely takes some things every single day. It's always, I take a ton of supplements every day. It's important to practice prevention, and that's the stage 5 maintenance. Once you go through everything and you've really created a lot of health and got a lot of toxins and co-infections out of the way, you don't want to leave things to okay, we'll just go back and not do any preventative or any or go ahead and just eat a bad diet all the time, because things can come back. We're exposed to toxins in our environment every single day. So it's very important. There are some supplements, and you'll see it in the program, though, that I'll say this is something you should take ongoing, and then others I'll say this is short term. And then but you've got to wait until you get to the maintenance portion of that. But yeah, how long can you stay in the program? That is completely up to you, Keisha. There, we have the minimum of the 12-month commitment, but many people stay in multiple years because they want to. They are still on the journey and enjoy being in the community, for one, because it's a wonderful group of parents, and in having the forum available to ask questions as they might come up along the way, and having everything accessible from the member site. After that year, it's really up to you what you want to do. You'll see where you're at and what your needs are. But I usually say autism recovery, and this can vary per child. Autism recovery is, to really, if you're doing all the steps ongoing and implementing everything along the way, maybe about a 4-year process or so to see what your optimum results will be. But everybody, again, is different. So that is, again, up to you then at that point. So hopefully that answers the question, but you're welcome to stay as long as you want. We're happy to have people enjoy being in the program and part of the community. Can I explain what the Elixir Reading is, for when the herbs are not high phenols. I know they're about phenol sensitivity. And it's good you know about phenol sensitivity. I have a PDF doc on the bottom of the Gut Healing Diet page that talks about phenols, because phenols, if for everybody else, Faith's asking, they're, they're really a healthy thing, like an antioxidant, like blueberries are high in phenols. And that can be really good. But if you're sensitive to these phenol compounds in these foods, you can have like an allergic type of reaction to them. Could be behavioral, could be um, like a die-off reaction where you feel like headaches or flu-like, or a lot of different things. So we work, and as the gut heals, the phenol sensitivity also calms down. But they're made for children with autism and all of those sensitivities. So all those things, that are, you don't have to worry about phenol sensitivity with them. The Elixir Reading is basically, you give this man, his name's Robert, your child's age. Excuse me, I need a sip. You give him your child's age and their symptoms. And based on that information, he is able to, it's about when I start losing my voice. He is able to take that information and give you back a very, very detailed email with he has multiple elixirs that do very different things, from helping detox pathways to fighting candida to fighting parasites to helping flush out the lymphatic system. There are all these different things, helping with some gut healing. There are a lot of different things there. And so based on what you tell him about your child, he will give you a very detailed reading on what comes up for him. He does muscle testing too, as well, based on the information you've given him for different things, and comes back with a detailed reading for you about the top suggested elixirs for your child at that time. And then I always say about 2 to 3 months later, every couple of months after your initial reading, that you don't do right away. I used to do that right away, and now I have people wait and get the detox pathway supported first, because we don't want to go into some die-off. So once you have that first reading with Robert, then every couple of months after that, it's good to write him again with where your child's at, then to get an updated reading on it, on what they might need at that point as far as elixirs. Because sometimes he might not say that the candida elixir is that your child's ready for it at that point, and other people are for their child. So it is very individualized, as I mentioned, because it needs to be for where your child's at that time that he does the reading. They are they taste like water, and they're liquid. It's based on quantum physics, so it's very hard to explain. But I've been using them for over a decade, and they're excellent for their specific needs. I don't just throw the products out there and tell people about them all the time, because you can end up, if you're not using them properly, you can end up in like a and have those detox pathways and everything supported first. You can end up in a big die-off reaction, and I really don't want that to happen. So that's why it's nice to have Robert's reading. And at that point too, we've done some good detox pathway support work, but they're based on quantum physics, with frequency enhancing for each individual need for a lot of various health needs that are going on. But they're very, very helpful. You suspect histamine intolerance and mast cell activation and maybe PANS with your six-year-old son, but he's gotten much better over the years. Good. Is there such a thing as mild version of these? Yeah, absolutely. And that's why too, let me make sure that I'll finish the question. um, so this is why some people say, well, if I test for some, do I need to test? And I say, honestly, no, because I could tell you your child has candida overgrowth, they have heavy metal toxins that we all do. And everything we're using is safe and natural. Most tests are, for one, very expensive. Not all are accurate. And then you're usually guided to, something that isn't useful for them, or they're antibiotic resistant. If we're using something safe and natural, as the herbal formulas also are, I have you go ahead in their step, in their stage in the program, go ahead and use them, um, regardless of testing, because they're only going to help support the immune system. They will not, they will only help, as I mentioned earlier, regulate or balance the system, and they're broad spectrum. So they help multiple systems of the body. So, yes, even if there's a mild PANS flare or mast cell activation, or well, the herbals aren't they help with the mast cell activation, but specifically for PANS, those symptoms, they will um, they will help to calm the things in the body go down that are going on, that are triggering the PANS episodes and the issues. So, yes, they can definitely have mild sensitivities. That's where we have Inga. I did an interview with her. She has these allergy vials that you do at home, and they help to desensitize the body to the allergic reactions that your child might be having along the way, because these triggers, whether it's an old vaccine injury or a food intolerance or an environmental toxin, um, there are a lot of things that are triggering us or our kids, even daily, that can be causing these behaviors. So those can help to desensitize, and deactivate the body's allergic response. It's very simple and very safe to do, and easy. Uh, and that is great to calm those symptoms down, as we then in the program are working with the underlying causes with everything that we do. So it's a great combination that way. So yeah, PANS, depending on what exactly the symptoms are, what's triggering it, we're working to work with everything so that nothing important gets left out. That's the bottom line. Um, I'm glad he's doing much better. Um, um, if so, what could that mean, and what does that look like? Okay, I think I just answered that. My son has made a lot of progress with things we have already done. Great. We are at a plateau season, and I guess you could say I just, yeah, I just. Well, I understand plateau well. That's what I hear over and over and over. People join this program because either they're new to the journey and they don't know what to do and they're just totally confused, or you've been on it for years and you've tried a lot of things, but you feel like, yes, you've made progress, but that you know that there's more that can be done, and they can be doing better than they are, but you don't know what else to do. And that is usually due to an underlying co-infection. Um, and it could even be to maybe some heavy metal toxicity that's still residing, or candida that's still residing, things that maybe have been worked with and got better, but they really weren't really taken care of well. But the underlying co-infections are so common with being ongoing triggers. So, and they are rarely worked with in most programs, or worked with properly or safely. So I got you covered there too. You don't want to just put your child again on a bunch of antibiotics that can make them worse. So, yeah, the plateauing usually comes from underlying co-infections. Very common. Manor, hi. Your son has PANS and autism. What are the best herbs for PANS, flare, and mast cell? So, mast cell is something that is mast cell activation is triggered very commonly by heavy die-off, but also, just like PANS can be, but is also really a big histamine trigger, which can be foods or environmental histamines triggers, something like that in their environment that's triggering it. There are certain supplements. So the antihistamine diet, which is on the diet page, you'll see in the members program, is very, very helpful to follow. Mainly just eliminating those foods, at least for a while. Eventually, we're working to build the system up. Things like quercetin, which is a natural antihistamine, is very helpful to take. CoQ10, ubiquinol, that's great for mitochondria. It's in the program as well. Those are really good for helping with mast cell. There's a few other things, but that's kind of the initial. Um, but so those are things, but the herbal formulas that we use, they are proprietary organic herbal formulas. And the doctor who created them specifically for special needs like this, she has an extensive herbal background, but she trusts me, and I'm one of like 3 or 4 practitioners, maybe, or I don't call myself a practitioner, people in the world that she allows my members, and you have to be a registered member of the program, an active member, to be able to have access to purchase them. And that is per her requirement because she knows that you need my guidance with them. We don't want to, just like I said with the elixirs, we don't want to just tell you about a bunch of supplements that, go get on them and you don't know what to do and you don't have the detox pathways supported, or, there's that's important. We're being responsible is what we're doing. So I'm not allowed to offer those outside of the program, but it is one of the big bonuses in the program. So you have full access to purchase those once you're in the program. And there's a stage, I still, even if you are not a newbie, let's say you've been on the journey for a long time, I still usually have the seasoned, as I call you, parents start out with the initial stages, because I find that the supplements that I use for the purposes are usually far better than other things that have been used by you in the past, likely, for even just binders and detox stabilization, things like that. We want to move through this from the beginning in the right way. We want to it's like, the old analogy of you want to build a house on a strong foundation, and that's exactly what we want to do, is start a strong foundation and then begin and keep that foundation strong and get it stronger and stronger as we move forward. We don't want to just say, oh, I'm going to start here today and not have those things really in place. So again, but it's simplified steps. Okay. Boy, I still have my voice. We're lucky. Zanelle, we all know autistic kids are different. What's the success percentage of the program between 10 to 100%? As far as an actual percentage of people who have gotten results, I don't know the exact percentage, but I could say an absolute majority. And if they didn't initially, especially, it is often because there is some other ongoing environmental trigger or detoxification. They started and got moving too quickly, and their child went into a severe die-off, and they stopped and didn't continue, or but for people who follow the steps in the slow order in which they're supposed to be done and are very, very thorough, I mean, and are really, really doing it correctly. I mean, uh, uh, I have to be careful with what I say, but I mean, I wouldn't doubt that if you're doing it correctly, it's almost everybody seeing some types of results, and then they vary for everybody. And we always have to say that. I talked earlier about this mom. Her name's Karen, she's also in the program. Her son was 27 years old, was still nonverbal. She had tried tons of things. She said, we worked so hard for years and nothing made a difference. She got in this program, and her son's fully talking and reading books with her. I think that was within 5 months or so. If you go to naturallyrecoveringautism.com/membership, scroll down on that page, and Karen's little short video clip that she did for us very generously is there. Not everybody is. I always protect everyone's privacy and honor that. And so if somebody is willing to do a video like that, then they have. We just had some people do them, which is great to share, because I know you need to hear from other people. And then many of them have written something in text, and we just use initials so that we're not using their name to keep their anonymity. But there are so many amazing things that I've heard, from people in the program, over and over and over and over. I mean, it really has a huge success rate. But as far as an actual number, I don't have that specifically, because not everybody is always sharing either. But yeah, it has a very high success rate. I will definitely tell you that. Does a program differ per child, or is it standard? So again, Zanelle or Zanelle, um, if it's not, I don't want to say anything's cookie cutter because every child is unique. But there are certain principles that have to be covered. And that's why I even say people who are seasoned parents and been doing it for a long time, it's really important to begin with the right supplements, some very high quality types of gentle binders that can be used every day, because other ones that are stronger, like activated charcoals, great for a die-off reaction, or if you're in some detoxification, you want to use it maybe for a few days at the most and then stop. It's not something you want to use all the time. Things also have to be taken properly. Things are be taken with food and without. People don't always follow that, so that makes a difference in absorption. There's a lot of different variants, but I give you those guidelines. So the zeolites that we use in the beginning to start with detoxification can be taken with or without food. They can be taken multiple times a day, and we kind of suggest it for various reasons in there. So because we detoxify all day long, not just in the morning or at night. Um, Quality products that are doing the right job, and then in combination with something else that will help, like the couple of different minerals that we use, starting to build those detox pathways. So I have you move forward in every step. Um, just the same pretty much for everyone, because all of those things matter. Again, that A to Z. I don't want you jumping around and missing something really important because you thought you didn't need it, or something like that. Because again, everything too is safe and natural, so you don't have to worry about it. There are, I think, maybe two herbal formulas that will have, and it says on the page, in the site, that or next to the product, if it shouldn't be used with if somebody's on psychotropic medications. That there are only a couple of things that's there for, but everything else is, um, doesn't have any contraindications. So yeah, I do have you just move along, that way. Melissa, are immunizations linked to autism? I've heard they are. Boy, do I have a lot to say about that, actually. But because I'm on Facebook, I have to be very, very careful what I say. Inside the program, I can say whatever I want. But if I say too much here and it gets into the crawlers of Facebook, they will shut this down and it won't be available for anybody to see again. So, will I say, are they a part of the problem? Yes, they're a big part of the problem. Um, and the toxins, different heavy metals, the different other toxic exposure, the mixture of them, the viruses, all of that, it's like a big toxic insult to the system. And so that has to be worked with in multiple ways. And we have some things that we do, that will help with that, I'll say, because that those are a big part of many people's problems, maybe, or the first time they saw their child's symptoms arise. So we have to make sure that all of those pathways and the things are supported in the correct way. So yeah, it's good. I educate. That's another thing. I don't want it to just be based on opinion. I give you like information, resources. Many of the things that we use will have studies, or I've interviewed experts on it, or so that you really have some more background to know there is a wealth of education, and that's what it's really about, being an educated parent and understanding. You're gonna be so smart in autism recovery after this. That's why people have said, "Oh my gosh, I've learned more from you, in a month or whatever, than I had in the last 5 years." And it's kind of like that. I've taken all of my 16 years of autism research, and then like brought it in to streamline it into here so that you could gain the benefits of all of it. Um, Faith, what's the average added cost for suggested supplements? So that absolutely varies too. The supplements are purchased over time. So there are some months where you maybe won't need to be purchasing anything because you have what you need and you're moving forward and you're using those and you're not moving on to another one that you don't have yet. So maybe that month there's no supplement purchase, so zero. And then another month, maybe you're purchasing like in the beginning, the binders and a couple of the minerals. So maybe you're one month you're spending 50 or $100 on a couple of things, just depending on what you're buying right then and there. Like I said, even the herbal supplements can be, because they're started out at 1 drop a week for each formula. So you could even buy like, 2 or 3 of them, because that 3 of them would take you 3 weeks to implement. And then in 3 weeks, purchase them the rest of what you need or more of them, like kind of like that. So you can spread it out. So anyway, just randomly 0 to 100 maybe, but it just depends on what you're getting, and it can be spread out on your timeline to help spread the cost out as well. I don't want you buying everything in the program right off the bat because there's no need to. You won't be needing certain things for another month or 2 months or 3 months. So again, that helps too. It's one thing at a time at your child's pace. So that pace will depend on how your child is able to move forward. And again, you're watching for those symptoms as you're learning to muscle test, right? And Anita, if a child's speech is great, but they are scared easily and have slight obsessive behavior, I think it might be co-infections. Do you agree? Yes, their speech is good, but they're scared easily and have some OCD behavior. So yeah, OCD, PANS is really common with OCD, but it's usually a sudden onset of OCD and it can be extreme, but not always. As I mentioned earlier, I think Faith asked that it can be like a milder version, but OCD can also come from candida overgrowth, candida infection. Can cause OCD. Some of the heavy metals can cause OCD. That's why there's never like one answer. Like I will often say speech, your child doesn't have that issue, but speech is very much affected by aluminum toxicity and by PANS. But, everybody is different. And when somebody says, well, what causes this symptom? I do have symptom guides on all the pages for the co-infections, and so it's good to have that as a basis to kind of refine, does my child have this or not? Just so that you have the knowledge of it. Again, we treat them naturally, so we work with it anyway, but going, oh wow, my child really has that is, sometimes helpful too to, maybe you're targeting in a little bit sooner with a couple of things there. So as far as behaviors, when somebody says, what causes this or what causes that? It's multiple infections, multiple toxins, and multiple pathogens. And then how those are affecting your individual child's biology. Everybody can be affected by things differently. So that's why I would never want somebody just doing part of the program or pieces and then not doing everything, just like you've probably been doing with other practitioners and other people and other things that you've been doing and why you've probably fallen short of results. Because my goal is to help you to get the absolute best results that are possible for your child. And we don't know what those will be until everything has been done and completed and thoroughly and properly. And so that's the ultimate goal, right? Is to help them live a happier life, a healthier life, live to their full potential, and really to help guide them to live an independent life. And one hopefully with friends. I know some people have started and they said, my child is so lonely. It's hard. My child is so lonely, or they have no friends. And then a year later, they're like, "Oh my gosh, my child has all these friends and they're so happy." It's like, I mean, it's even the social connection, it makes a difference. There's a great one, if you haven't heard Diana. She shared on a audio podcast, not a video, but audio at naturallyrecoveringautism.com/Diana, Diana. And she has a magnificent story to share from the results she got in the program. And she had been trying and trying for years as well. And her son had been completely nonverbal, went to fully verbal, went from a special ed class to being put in a regular class, and not only just in a regular class, but at the top, is at like the top academically of his class. His teacher says he would hide behind her when she first went. It took him into special ed classes early on. He was only like 4 or 5 years old. And a year later, he's now playing with all of those friends and kind of leading things in the classroom. He was nonverbal, went to fully verbal. It was like the transformation in this child was magnificent. I mean, it's so inspiring. So if you want to listen to her share, and the beauty of it is she had been trying things for some years and had no real results. And she even said in the interview, and she said, "Is it okay if I say that?" I said, "Absolutely." She said, "I came in, I was so skeptical, Karen." She goes, "I thought you were just somebody scamming parents for money." And I'm like, I get it. And it, people do that. I just, so having her say that and then share her results, I'm like, yeah, I know. I'm sincere. I've lived this life and this journey myself, and I am offering this to you. I've put in my own blood, sweat, and tears and finances into putting it, going through it, living it, and then putting it together for you. And now I'm offering it to you, and I hope you take advantage of it. So, thank you so much for being here and being a proactive parent and getting the resources you need. Now it is up to you to take action. The doors to enrollment will close tomorrow, Thursday night, April 7th at midnight. Please, please don't delay. Please join. Get your child the help they need, and for you to reduce your fear and your worries and the concern about their future, and also get the support that you need, because I know how important a roadmap is to have, and how to know how to follow that roadmap, that plan. So I hope that you take advantage of this. Please go to naturallyrecoveringautism.com/membership right now. Join the program, and I will really look forward to helping you and hearing about your child's successes. I will see you very soon. Take care.